Now I have Maschine set up, Massive set up, and my tracks configured in Logic. I'm ready to do my recording. And I just want to make sure I have my view all situated right. I'm going to open up Massive and just test real quick, make sure I have both the Massive track and the resample track record enabled, and see if I can switch patches. So if I hit these patch changes, I do see the patches changing. I want to have a good view of everything, so one nice feature in Massive is I can hit this X right here and just kind of hide the browser and just see a nice little screen of Massive. And I'm really going to be looking at the names of the macro controls because I'll be playing those as we do the multiple takes. Just make sure I have a good sound to begin with. We'll start with that one. And let's try it out. I just hit record here, put my count in. I can just let this go. Change patches. That's the recording of it. So now I have, if you'll see, a ton of individual tracks recorded here. And they're all in a take folder. Now, when I did that recording, all the MIDI was recorded as well. And I really don't need these tracks. I can go back to them if I want to, but I don't need them. So I'll just go ahead and start deleting some of them. And just get rid of this stuff. And I'll mute my Massive track. So if I play back, I'll hear that final recording that I made. And I'll solo this audio track just so we hear the one track here. So if I play back, I'll hear the last recording. So that's just that final recording. But the great thing is, as I hover over this, I get this swipe tool, and I can play maybe the first little bit of this first track. And then I can move a little bit to this next one. And maybe a little bit to this next one, to this next one, to this next one. A little bit of that, this one. So the trick now is just to kind of play through with this editing and this comp feature, just pulling out the really interesting bits that you found throughout. Right? Pretty easy. Now, so it's just a matter of taking some time and getting all the comps just where you want it. But there's also another nice way to do this. And one of the issues you come across with this is that the edits aren't timed. There's no grid on them. And it'd be nice just to be able to make all these edits really tight to the meter. So I'll undo all those edits I just did. And I want to chop this audio file up in eighth notes. To do that, I'll just choose my scissor tool. And if I hold Option, I get a plus next to the scissor, and I can chop it up evenly throughout the track. And I just want to make sure that where I'm cutting is an eighth note in, so that it cuts eighth notes throughout the entire clip. I'll zoom in. And just check my, so that is 1, 2, 3. So the eighth note will be in the middle of that. Hold Option. When I cut, it chops it up evenly throughout the entire thing. So now the entire take is just chopped up. And I have this great grid that I can now just click pieces through and do my comp. And let's try that out. So I might choose scissoring. Get my arrow tool. And I can just now click on different bits and switch between them through the eighth note. So I'm being kind of random here, but I find that's often just the best way to start. Start random and then kind of fine tune it as you go. So I knew in my patch list, I started out with more of the wobbly bass things, and the crazy effects were on top. So I might want to have a crazy effect right there, and then back to more of a wobble bass sound. So let's hear this now. One more time. It's getting there. Solo this track. I like the little thing there, and I can just click on more. And again, be pretty random. So you'll find that with this process, what you'd end up doing is just duplicating this entire loop out maybe 8 times, and then just giving yourself a different comp for each 8 bars. So it'll just be a constantly different kind of evolving texture as you go through this. Now, to take it even further, you could take other tracks and just record them into this, right? If I recorded my drums right into this comp, well then I could kind of slice in the drums. If I recorded my chord part in, I could slice in my chords or some real vocals. I can just bring those right in. And I'll just go through this. Again, I'm being kind of random. I'll just grab a couple more here. Let's see what we get. I just want a weirder one for the end there. We'll switch to this one. All right, so now that we have a comp that's pretty good, and you would take a little more time and make it just right. I think this is coming out pretty good already, though. You want to adjust crossfades. You'll find a lot of times when you do this, you'll have these really hard edits, and there'll be clicks. And those clicks can be useful. It's actually kind of in the style sometimes. But it'd be nice just to be able to manipulate the crossfades. So now that I have my comp made, I need to flatten it so I can adjust all the crossfades. Normally, I can just click in one of these regions and say flatten. But in Logic, it's only going to do one of them because I've chopped them up. I need to do them all in a bulk. I could just go by one and do that, but if I use the key command, it's going to be faster. There's no key command built in by default for Logic Pro for flatten take folder, but we can make one ourselves. Go to Logic Pro, Preferences, Key Commands, and just do a search for flatten. And I'll see we have an option for flatten take folder. Double click in the, say, in the key area, or say learn by key, and Control Option Command F is the key command I'll use for this. And that's learned. So now I can hit my new key command, Control Option Command F, and everything's flattened perfectly. So if we listen back, we now have one track with all the flattened files. Let's hear it. So it sounds pretty good, but I do hear some clicks at the region boundaries. What I'll do is I'm showing my region parameters here, and I just want to apply crossfades to all of them so that they kind of crossfade nicely and I avoid some of those clicks. I'll change from fade out to crossfade. I'm getting this star, which means that one of them can't actually have a crossfade, and that's that last region. It can't have a crossfade because there's no region after it to crossfade. So I'll just shift click on that and deselect it, and now all these are set in crossfade mode. And I can just increase this parameter. I figure around 100, or we'll start with 50 and see how that sounds. Perfect, so now there's no clicks between the regions. We have our groove, sounds pretty good, and we can move on to processing this in a good way.